Hello, I am Dr. Chanel Serrano, and today we are going to be talking about 6 tips for the up and coming Christian leader. A little bit about myself. I am a published author. I'm also the CEO of Esther's Daughters LLC, which is a faith-based organization that equips single moms into positions of leadership. I am the CEO of God is Within Her Publishing LLC. I am the blog content creator for Doing Life with Christ. And one of my most fun and most important roles is mom to a 21-year-old son here in Southern California. And lastly, I am also an individual who works in the helping profession and have done so now for 27 years. In my current role, I have the privilege of serving in leadership, specifically in management. And with that experience, as well as a lot of years being a single moms ministry leader, I come to you today to share a few tips on, especially if you are stepping into or preparing for roles of leadership as a Christian believer. So let's get started. And really, how this came about. I was checking one of my profiles recently, and it says that I have been with my employer now for 5 years. And I started actually in 2019 with my current employer, and I was hired as a supervisor. And so, about 3.5 years later, I was promoted into a position within management. And so, I've had the opportunity to connect and make some amazing relationships, friendships, partnerships, as well as one of my favorite things to do and be a part of is equipping the next generation of leaders. And so I have the honor to be able to come alongside and to watch that take place and to also mentor individuals as they promote and continue to grow along their professional journeys. So we'll jump right into our first tip. And actually, I will share how I came to this first tip. And really, it goes back to, for those of you who have a biblical worldview, such as myself, it is beginning with First Kings chapter 3, verses 7 to 14. And I have my notes here to the side to make sure that I am on track. But it is what I consider to be called the leader's prayer. And a little bit of background. So King David had appointed his son Solomon to be his successor. And so Solomon, in what I consider to be the leader's prayer or a leader's prayer, he went to God and he was saying, God, I am a child. I am new in this position as a king. I've been called, you've called me to serve as a king to this great people. I don't know what this looks like, what this means, but I come to you, God, and ask you for one thing, and that is for a discerning heart. Discerning heart, meaning the ability to, with wisdom, the ability to make sound decisions, the ability to know how to navigate through uncharted waters. And in this prayer, he said, I'm asking for a discerning heart on knowing and being able to distinguish between right and wrong, being able to make just decisions. And so God's response was, because you only asked me, Solomon, for one thing, a discerning heart, I'm not only going to give you that one thing, a discerning heart, but I'm also going to bless you with wealth and honor. And if you keep my laws, commands, decrees, I will also bless you with a long life. And so, with that, that leads me into tip number one, following the heart of God. So, as an up and coming, and even if you've been in leadership for quite some time, as leaders, it is imperative, if you have a biblical worldview, to follow the heart of God. And so, what that looks like is walking a line of integrity and of grace. And as you're making decisions, not making them and then asking God to bless them, but praying and being in your word and seeking God's wisdom as you are making those decisions, and not using God as an afterthought, if you will, but incorporating Him into that process. And so as you make one step, waiting for the next spiritual instruction to then be given. Okay. Second tip, recognizing the season and knowing how to navigate through that season. And so sometimes you'll hear individuals, especially those who have a biblical worldview, we tend to use the word seasons a lot, but really that means a period of transition. And so recognizing the season or the period of transition that you're in is vital. That can be especially if you are new into stepping into leadership or maybe preparing for a position of leadership. You could be at a place of being still, just being still and observing. And so, what this looks like is, especially if you're new stepping into leadership, not necessarily knowing or having all the tools right away, but maybe it's sitting down and getting familiar with observing what are the current policies, what are the current processes. And I know for me, when I had stepped into a position of as a supervisor previously, I had wanted to observe the team that I was called to lead, as well as see, okay, what is working, what's not, look at some of the patterns, some of the trends, some of the areas where we can do some improvements. Also looking at the very unique skill set of each player, of each member on my team. And so all of that came to play. And so when I stepped into that role, as a supervisor, and also when I stepped into a role regarding management, really jumping in, but slowing down enough to be still and observe, be humble, be coachable, to learn about the role, about the position, as well as having conversations with the person you report to and asking them what are their expectations of you in this particular role. Okay. Your next tip, which is tip number 3, are putting processes in place. Coming to understand that no matter what role you play, what role, what position that you might be in, we do not know it all. We do not do it all. And so that is one of the main things to take away, if nothing else, is to know that it really is teamwork and coming alongside other folks to make the dream come true, to bring the vision into fruition. And so putting those processes in place is, again, as I mentioned, identifying what is working, what are the current patterns and trends, what's currently working, what is not, what do you have to completely maybe do away with, as well as, okay, maybe this process is working, but we need to tweak it a little bit. Also, developing what your leadership style is. And I think oftentimes as leaders, especially when you're new into stepping into leadership, you may feel that you have one style, when in actuality, the situation itself may dictate the type of learning style that you execute. Okay. Another Number 4, self-awareness. And so this ties into what I mentioned in the previous nuggets, is that it's important that as you are an up and coming leader, and really, again, any role, that you engage in a process of self-awareness. It is vital that we are constantly growing. Again, we do not know it all. And so once you come into understanding that, okay, no matter what my role is or what my position is, being aware of your shortcomings and how you can improve. Is it maybe taking additional classes? Okay, I may not be strong in this particular area, but I want to educate myself and jump right in and learn as much as I can. Maybe it is getting a mentor, which I will be speaking to a little bit later in a couple of steps further down. But again, engaging in self-care and identifying what areas you are strong in, what areas you might require some improvement in, as well as what are your short-term and long-term goals, and where do you see yourself? Okay. And that also will help you too. Being self-aware allows you to know what positions that you may be interested in or may be a good fit in as you move along your journey. Step number 3, mentor. This is another important part of being a leader, an up and coming leader, or if you're preparing for leadership, and even if you're a seasoned leader, it's important to have a mentor. This is someone who you can go to for advice, for wisdom, and mentor not only professionally. I'm speaking professional mentor in this context. But this could be a spiritual mentor. This can be an academic mentor if you are a student. And again, coming back around, this can be a professional mentor. This is someone who maybe has been in the field that you're currently interested in or that you are in, and they are a seasoned professional. And this is someone who you identify as someone who you respect, someone who maybe even shares similar values as you, someone who's been in the field quite some time, and someone who you can sit down with on a regular basis to talk about what your goals, short-term, long-term goals are. And they can really shed some light and also help you to navigate along this career journey. And the last tip for our up and coming Christian leader, that is to equip and educate the next generation of leaders. And so that may not come right away, but always know that in this position as a leader, especially if you're new and stepping into this role, knowing that one day you'll be called to pay it forward. And so at the end of the day, it's not about us, but the people whom we're called to serve and assist and equip. And so one of my models, for those who know me well, those who are on my team, and so very, very early on, either if I am hiring them on, or if when I stepped in, they were already in their current roles. One of the things that I always like to ask is, what is your expectation, or what are your expectations of me as your manager or as your supervisor or whatever your role may be? And also letting them know what your expectations are of them. And one of the things that I often share is are two things. I am a strong proponent for providing opportunities for growth, as well as providing opportunities for education. And so very quickly, I start to identify the skill set of our folks, of our team. And so placing them in positions where they are able to maybe teach others, to maybe coach or mentor other individuals, and teaching their skill set along the way, especially for onboarding staff who may be a peer of theirs. And that's a great way to help to equip your folks into the next chapter in their life, whatever that may be. Oftentimes when I'm doing performance evaluations, I like to ask, what are your goals, your short-term, long-term goals? And as leaders, do not be shocked if they say, that perhaps their long-term goal is to be in a position with a different department or a different agency. I think that is very healthy. And so the question then for you as a leader is, how can I equip them? What can I do with the tools that I have to equip them for that next chapter whenever that occurs? And so constantly having that in and on your mind as you have your one-on-one meetings with them, and ensuring that they stay on top of their goals, and also ensuring that you are doing your part to help them to do so. So again, equipping the next generation of leaders is vital, and that should be actually one of the main things that keeps you going as a leader. And even though as time goes on, the vision, the mission may be the same. However, as time goes on, how we execute that vision, how we execute that mission may look a little bit different as time goes on, as people begin to enter, or new employees begin to join, and also the needs of your clients may change as well. So knowing that how you execute may look different as time goes on. And so I hope that you have enjoyed these 6 tips for the up and coming Christian leader. If you have any other thoughts, ideas, comments, things that work for you, feel free to leave them in the comments below. And I look forward to chatting with you again. And until next time, you all have a beautifully blessed day. Stay safe and take care.